There's a gun in your nightstand. You put it there months ago, back when the darkness first started settling in. You told yourself it was for protection. You told yourself a lot of things back then that you no longer believe. Today, the Secret Service is standing in your living room, going through your stuff. Again. 8 years after the FBI did the same thing. Same house, same bedroom, different federal agency, same feeling that the walls are closing in and there is no way out that doesn't end with you in a cage. You are 24 years old. You are innocent of what they think you did, and you are absolutely certain it doesn't matter. It starts, like most things in your life, with a computer. You are 6 years old in a suburb of South Florida, and while every other kid on your street is outside playing tag in the humid afternoon heat, you are inside, sitting in front of the family PC, completely still, completely focused, completely somewhere else. Your parents worry about the obsession. Your dad is a programmer. He understands computers better than most, but even he can't quite explain what he sees in you. It's not just that you're good at it. It's that the machine seems to speak to you in a language you were born knowing. When other kids get frustrated with technology, you get curious. When something breaks, you need to know why. He installs parental controls to limit your time on it. You break through them before the end of the week. By your early teens, you're reading books on C programming and Unix operating systems. You're studying source code the way other kids study sports stats. You stay up until 2 a.m. reading, testing, breaking things, putting them back together. One afternoon, no one asks you to, no one suggests it, you uninstall Windows from the family computer and replace it with Linux. Your parents try to confiscate your PC. You leave the house and tell them you're not coming back until they return it. They return it. The arguments get worse as the years pass, but nothing changes the fundamental fact. You are not a normal kid, and no amount of parental concern is going to make you one. What you are is something rarer and more dangerous, genuinely, extraordinarily gifted, and you are about to find out what the world does with gifts it doesn't understand. It's 1999, and the internet is a different place than it will become. There are no social media platforms, no smartphones, no streaming services. The World Wide Web is still young enough that most people don't fully trust it. Companies store their data carelessly. They're networks built by engineers who assumed nobody would bother looking. Security is an afterthought. Firewalls are weak. Passwords are obvious. The digital infrastructure of the most powerful institutions on Earth is held together, in many places, with the equivalent of a screen door. And in the underground, there's a community that knows it. They talk in IRC channels, internet relay chat, real-time text conversations that happen in rooms with names like #hack and #freak and #underground. They share techniques, trade knowledge, challenge each other. It's part subculture, part competition, part art form. The best hackers are legends in these circles, not for what they steal, but for where they go. The higher the target, the more impenetrable the system, the greater the respect. Your handle is C0 Marade. You are 15 years old, and you've already built a reputation as one of the best. Not the loudest, not the most reckless, the best. There's a difference, and you know it intimately. Your thing isn't destruction. You don't delete files. You don't spread viruses. You don't steal data and sell it on underground markets. You break into systems the way a locksmith picks a lock, not to rob the house, but to prove the lock is worthless. Sometimes, after you've gotten in, you send an email to the system administrator. Polite, specific. Here's where your security fails. Here's exactly how to fix it. You think of yourself as curious, harmlessly, endlessly curious. The government is about to think of you as something else entirely. It's the summer of 1999, and you're looking for a new challenge, something harder, something that matters. You decide to hack NASA. Specifically, you target the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Over several weeks, methodically and carefully, you gain access to 13 NASA computers. How exactly, you'll never fully explain, and the government will never fully figure out. Once inside, you find something that catches your attention. Source code, software for the temperature and humidity control system of the International Space Station. The system that keeps the inside of the station livable for the astronauts aboard it. You think about that for a moment. On the surface of the station, temperatures swing between 120 degrees Celsius and negative 150. The difference between the astronauts living and dying is a piece of software. And right now, that software is on your screen. You download it, not because you want to sabotage anything. The thought genuinely doesn't occur to you. You're studying C programming, and this is government code written by some of the best engineers in the world. What better classroom exists? You spend weeks reading through it. Later, you'll say the code was crappy, certainly not worth the $1.7 million NASA will claim in damages. But you took it. That part is undeniable. When NASA discovers the breach, they shut down their systems for 3 weeks. The investigation cost them $40,000. And somewhere in a federal building, your name, or rather the name CUM Raid, starts appearing in reports with words like national security threat written next to it. You don't know that yet. You're already on to your next target. The Defense Threat Reduction Agency is not the kind of place anyone is supposed to be able to get into. It's the Pentagon division that analyzes threats to the United States from nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons. The people who work there hold some of the highest security clearances in the American government. It sits behind layers of protection that are theoretically impenetrable. You are in within weeks. You install a backdoor on a server in Dulles, Virginia. Through it, over the following days, you intercept over 3,300 messages between DTRA staff, internal communications about threat assessments, operational planning, personnel movement. You collect 19 usernames and passwords, at least 10 of them belonging to employees with direct access to military computer systems. You read some of the messages, not all of them. You're not particularly interested in the content. It's the access that fascinates you. The fact that you're here at all. That a 15-year-old in a bedroom in South Florida has walked through the digital walls of the most powerful military apparatus on Earth and nobody stopped him. To you, it's exploration. Fascinating, thrilling, harmless exploration. You have just hacked the Pentagon. January 2000. You turned 16 last month. Your mother wakes you up one morning with a voice you have never heard from her before. Careful, controlled, terrified underneath the surface. Jonathan, the FBI is at the door. They take 5 computers, your Palm Pilot, some CDs, your Star Trek book, which you will spend years thinking about, because who takes a Star Trek book as evidence? You answer every question. You admit everything. You're not sure what else to do. Lying feels pointless when they clearly already know everything. You promise to stop. You mean it completely. Then 3 months of silence, then charges. Jonathan James becomes the youngest person ever convicted of violating federal cybercrime laws in the United States. Because you're a minor, the judge gives you 6 months house arrest instead of the decade behind bars an adult would face. No computers in your free time. And, the part that stings, in a way you didn't expect, letters of apology to NASA, to the Department of Defense. You write them. Then you test positive for drugs, a probation violation, and suddenly you're not at home anymore. You're in a juvenile detention facility, surrounded by people who did things you never did, serving 6 months with no way to shorten it. Your father will say later that prison changed you, that you came out strangely still, like something that had been running very fast for a very long time had simply stopped. You are 16 years old, and you already know what it feels like to be made an example of. The years that follow are quieter than anything that came before. You keep your promise. No hacking, no C0M raid. The handle that made you a legend in underground circles goes silent and stays that way. You try to build something resembling a normal life, though normal has never quite fit the shape of who you are. You look into college, but nothing takes hold. The conventional path, degree, career, the slow accumulation of a life that looks like everyone else's, doesn't map onto the way your brain works. You try a few things, a programming job that doesn't last, some freelance work that pays inconsistently. You're talented enough that opportunities come, but something always interrupts them. The depression maybe, or the record, or just the particular difficulty of being someone whose greatest skill also destroyed the first chapter of your life. Your mother gets sick, breast cancer, diagnosed when you're 17. You watch her fight it for a year before she dies. You are 18 years old, and the person who understood you best, who worried about you, argued with you, woke you up that January morning with fear in her voice, is gone. You and your brother stay in the house you grew up in. The same house where the FBI came for you. The same house with the family computer you dismantled and rebuilt 1,000 times as a kid, back when the world was just a puzzle and every locked door was an invitation. The darkness comes in stages, first as restlessness, then as emptiness, then as something heavier that doesn't have a clean name. You write a suicide note during one of the worst stretches. You don't use it. You fold it and put it in a drawer and try to keep moving. You buy a gun. You tell yourself it's for protection. Meanwhile, in a different part of the country, someone who knows your world is doing the opposite of keeping quiet. His name is Albert Gonzalez, and he has been busy. While you spent your 20s trying to leave hacking behind, Gonzalez spent his building an empire on top of it. He started the same way you did. Teenage prodigy, FBI visit at 14 for breaking into NASA systems. A close call that scared most people straight. It didn't scare Gonzalez. By the early 2000s, he was deep inside a black market called Shadow Crew. An online marketplace for stolen credit card numbers, identity information, and banking data. Thousands of members, millions of stolen records. When the feds finally caught him trying to pull cash from ATMs with fake credit cards in 2003, Gonzalez made a calculation you never would have made. He became an informant. He started working with the Secret Service, feeding them names, helping them bust shadow crew members, trading other people's freedom for his own. His government handlers thought they had him. What they didn't know, what would take years to unravel, is that while Gonzalez was cooperating with federal agents, he was simultaneously running the largest credit card theft operation in American history. He called it get rich or die trying. His crew used a technique called war driving slowly through parking lots with a laptop and a high-powered radio antenna, hunting for vulnerabilities in corporate Wi-Fi networks. They hit Office Max, BJ's Wholesale, Boston Market, Barnes & Noble, Forever 21, and then TJX, the parent company of TJ Maxx and Marshalls, where they compromised the data of approximately 96 million customers, 180 million credit and debit card numbers stolen in total, $400 million in damages across the affected companies, the largest identity theft case in American history at the time, all of it while Gonzalez was on the Secret Service payroll. By 2008, the investigation is closing in on him. And Gonzalez, who has spent 5 years surviving by trading other people's names to the government, needs to do it one more time. May 2008. You are 24 years old. The knock at the door is the Secret Service. They raid the house. Same search, different agency, 8 years later. They go through everything, and in your nightstand, they find the suicide note you wrote years ago, and the gun. According to what you'll later tell people, they don't confiscate the weapon. You read through the subpoena after they leave. You study every name, every connection. The investigation traces from Gonzalez to a hacker named Christopher Scott to a figure known online only as JJ, and the agents have concluded that JJ is you. You know it isn't. But knowing something and proving it are different problems. You've read a document that circulates in hacker circles, Agent Steed's Guide to Getting Busted, written by a hacker who worked as a government informant and learned exactly how federal prosecution works from the inside. The criminal justice system is a game. Law enforcement will do just about anything, including lie, to win their case. You believe every word of it. And now you're looking at a situation where the actual criminals, Gonzalez, who designed and ran the entire operation, and Scott, who executed the hacks, are both cooperating with the government. Which means the government needs someone else, someone with a name the public already knows, someone whose file already exists, whose history already proves capability, whose face already appeared in headlines once before. You hacked NASA at 15. You hacked the Pentagon. Your name is in the history books. You are convinced you are going to prison for something you didn't do. The first time nearly broke you. You came out of that detention facility changed in ways you still can't fully articulate. Strangely still, your father said. Like something that had been moving very fast and simply stopped. You don't think there's a version of you that survives a second time. May 18th, 2008, 2 weeks after the raid, you are found in your home, dead. You leave a note. There are messages for your family, passwords to your accounts, organized, practical, thoughtful even at the very end, and a final statement addressed to no one and everyone. I have no faith in the justice system. Perhaps my actions today and this letter will send a stronger message to the public. Either way, I have lost control over this situation, and this is my only way to regain it. I die free. 2 years later, Albert Gonzalez is sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. The Secret Service finds $1.2 million in cash buried in a barrel in his parents' backyard. Christopher Scott gets 7 years, and investigators eventually conclude that JJ, the alias that pointed towards you, the connection that brought the Secret Service to your door, almost certainly referred to someone else entirely, a hacker named Stephen Watt, known online as Jim Jones. You were never charged, never arrested, never tried. The case against you didn't exist. What existed was a raid, a subpoena, a history that followed you everywhere you went, and a mind that had spent years learning exactly how the system treats people it decides to make examples of. A mind that looked at everything in front of it and reached a conclusion that was logical, coherent, and completely wrong. You were 6 years old when you first sat down at that computer. You spent your childhood taking systems apart to understand how they worked. You broke into NASA at 15 and sent an email afterward explaining what you'd found and how to fix it. You were curious and reckless and brilliant and lost and 24 years old when it ended. The system that came for you the first time made you a convicted felon at 16. The system that came for you the second time never even had a case. And in between those two visits, while you were trying to build something quiet and ordinary out of what was left, the man who actually did it was working for the government, collecting a paycheck and getting richer than you ever dreamed of being. You read the guide, you understood the rules, you applied the logic correctly, you just didn't wait long enough to find out you were wrong. I die free. If you find this content interesting, please don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.